wabega for mama kwaba epiem e de beye Kwabenaholic TV dwumadi so na ene nsem a ekoso no sawa wonim say nsem no de eba na saa na Kwabenaholic TV ye de eba na eye musonfo Christian mani abre say nsem na some de ba na abega for muso muhunu ne ekoso e wo mayimu ene parliament why she anopa ewia anadwo bia parliament mpenifo etenase ekan nsem mpenifo etenase esusu nsem ho mpenifo etenase ede nsem ede to eye apon so sene abribia no eye oman Ghana emma anase oman Ghana benya ne ntoma paayede efra na ne den pa na ekoso ewe ye parliament ho eye honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah Honorable Oppong Nkrumah ensembia Honorable Oppong Nkrumah ebiebie so ewo ho obiebie ensembi so na ensem no na NDC mpenifo a omote parliament hobi omuma eye Honorable Oppong Nkrumah ati asese nsem no Honorable Oppong Nkrumah ekeka no eye omampani John Dramani Mahama nsem no bi wo ho awanka ne saa na eye Honorable Oppong Nkrumah e de nsem epese de ode to eye omampani John Dramani Mahama so na me soundbre yenko ho we de like yenko ne yekohwe dimeti na nso na kohwe bi biwani na nso hwe ne ekoso ewe ye oman Ghana parliament nyansam ketwa nsempa ekoso oman mu mesra says obe like video no ahye na make comment na dey afa ho na bibia nso wonsa akenema sonkom mesra says wo advert bi na opese eye Kwabenaholic TV ye mo abibia no nso obetimi afa eye video links no so what I say ane obetimi I make comments so what I say eye comment section ho no so obetimi de o number e de ayeden e de ato na abibia nso eye Kwabenaholic TV yetimi e de eye advert bia opese eye ma yetimi e de ato ho na e de ama na nso udwumadi a wudi no yetimi akoso eye wano ama wo so yes ombre yenkohwe eye de ekoso ewe ye parliament wo na ba de ho bia nso mo so for Christian
that when the president assumed office, the first thing he did was to terminate them. Thousands of young Ghanaians who have been properly recruited into the public services, terminated.
My colleague on the other side, and my friend, Honorable Oppong Nkrumah, who by the way is my constituent also, used to head a ministry called the Ministry of Information. Mr. Speaker, that ministry had 76 people working there to manage government information. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to you, it is myself, a deputy, and 5 other people who now manage government information. Mr. Speaker, these indices point to one fact, that the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia administration have been the worst managers of our economy by far and away. And there can be no...
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion and the debate before this House. I want to start off by reading a portion of the State of the Nation address and asking my colleagues in the House whether they heard the President say this and whether they believe that this is the true state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, we inherited an economy that was running a high deficit with increasingly high inflation and interest rates. It was also characterized by rapidly depreciating currency. This unstable macro environment created an unfavorable investment environment for both indigenous and foreign capital. That's why we've called the National Economic Forum as an attempt to forge a consensus for a homegrown fiscal consolidation program. Did you hear the President say this? And is this the true state of the economy? You see, this was not in the State of the Nation address. You have just exposed yourselves. It was not in the State of the Nation address. This was not in the State of the Nation address. This was President John Dramani Mahama in 2013. This was President John Dramani Mahama in 2013, lamenting about the economy he inherited from the former president. You know that former president, Professor John Evans Atamils. You can check Hansard. You can check Hansard. There's a similarity between what the president did in 2013 and what he did here in the Chamber of Parliament in 2025. You know what that similarity is? Lamentations. Mr. Speaker, there's a phenomenon where new heads of state spend a lot of time lambasting, berating, demonizing their predecessors, hoping that they will use it as a basis to galvanize a certain narrative about why they came to power. Why you came to power doesn't matter. You are in power today. Your job is to do what? Is to fix it. Mr. Speaker, when a president during the State of the Nation's address spends his time lamenting like he did in 2013 and like he did here last week Thursday, what he does is that he invites the remnants of the previous administration to also come and to do what? To defend our record. In between the two, the real issues that you campaigned on, the things that the millions of young people who were singing Kwen Kwen are waiting to hear you deliver on, they get lost in the cracks. And I want to spend some time reminding you of the things that you campaigned on and the things that many people were hoping that when the president mounted the podium, he will be explaining how he will be delivering on them. The president campaigned on the cost of living crisis. He campaigned that transport fares were high and were still going high, and that if he's given an opportunity to come to power, he will roll out a program to tackle it. Did anybody hear the president here explain how he was going to tackle the phenomenon of transport fares that are going up? He spent all the time lamenting and trying to blame the heads of state of the past, just like he did in 2013. The president campaigned on high electricity bills and the fact that if he has an opportunity to come to power, he will introduce measures to tackle it. When he mounted the podium on Thursday, the expectation was that he will lay out a program, which program we now in Parliament will spend time debating. Did anybody hear the president explain how he's going to tackle electricity tariffs that keep going up? For many months, when the president was campaigning, he was speaking about high food inflation. When he mounted the podium, I was hoping to hear him outline how his program to deal with high food prices. I didn't hear it. I don't know if colleagues heard the president outline it here so that we could be debating it by now. In fact, in the first 2 months of the president's administration, what he has started doing is to remove some of the pillars that helped hold some parts of the economy together. It's not true that everything that went on in the last 8 years was bad. It's not true that everything that went on was good. There were pluses, there were minuses. What we have to be doing now is building on the pluses. But already the president is dismantling the pluses. Take the gold for oil program, which was introduced as a measure to help bolster our currency. It was introduced to, among other things, help reduce the forex demand that was used in importing fuel for our country. Today, the president's new administration says it's dismantled that plus. We are waiting to hear, or we're hoping to hear in the State of the Nation address, what is replacing it, so that our currency will not soon tank. What we are seeing instead is a reduction or a drawdown of our gross international reserves to support the currency, and instead, the gold for oil program has been dismantled. Mr. Speaker, the president traveled the length and breadth of this country talking about unemployment. That when the president assumed office, the first thing he did was to terminate them. Thousands of young Ghanaians who have been properly recruited into the public services, terminated. And while the president mounted the podium, we did not hear him outline a program that he's going to use to create or to expand the job creation bracket. Mr. Speaker, another thing that we were hoping to hear the president talk about was the growth of the Ghanaian economy. Yesterday, I heard my brother Atofosin talking about the fact that, yes, there had been growth, but that growth, in his opinion, had not been able. The economy has expanded by about $20 billion. The president did not tell us that. I was expecting that the president, when he mounted the podium, if he wanted to give a balanced account, would tell us that our gross international reserves, which he left at $6.5 billion when he was leaving power, when he came back, the morning of the 8th of January, when he reported to work, he found out that it was about $8.9 billion. This is a balanced account if he wanted to give a balanced account. But no. What he wanted to do was to lament, was to complain, was to blame the previous administration. Mr. Speaker, if indeed our colleagues on the government benches want a reset, the first reset we should be doing is moving away from the politics of the past, where new heads of state spend an inordinate amount of time lambasting, complaining, and blaming the past, and spend very little time putting their programs on the table so that we interrogate and support. When many of your colleagues appeared before the vetting committee and Osahin asked them, were you part of the manifesto committee? Have you seen these provisions that your manifesto has made on this subject? They said no. No. Deputy Finance. They said no, they haven't seen it. You would have imagined that by now, the programs for governance, you will be laying them here. And those who didn't see it at manifesto time will see it and even contribute the ideas. We've been in government before. Sometimes you can be here and you see a colleague lay a paper, you yourself, you don't even know the details, but you are part of the majority. You would imagine that by now, your economic transformation program, you will bring it here. Your 24-hour economic program, you will bring it here. These are the things that we were hoping the president will be giving details about, so that by now Parliament will be seized with them and will be interrogating them. Today, none of them has come before us. And we are spending all our time lambasting the past, trying to blame the past, complaining about the past. That's why Ghanaians voted for you. You have an opportunity to do what? To fix it. No, we don't need to wait for the budget. We need to have them here and now so that we can have an opportunity, you and us, to work on them. Mr. Speaker, I'll be concluding soon. 3 major things that I want to draw the government bench's attention to. Number 1, stop the propaganda. You have won the election already. You don't need to do more propaganda. The propaganda will not create jobs. It won't put food on the tables of people. It won't put clothes on the backs of people. Rather, bring your governance programs. Till date, we don't have a single definition for the 24-hour economy program. Everybody you talk to has a different definition. Program Bako, definition bebre. Program Bako, definition bebre. Spend time doing less propaganda and more time bringing your governance programs so that Parliament can assist you and work on it. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, political parties, and this goes to all of us generally, while we do our manifestos and make promises, we should spend more time putting out the granular details of our programs so that in times like this, we'll spend less time doing the blame game of the past, blame game of the previous presidents, and more time interrogating the programs that you are going to govern with and assisting you not to even repeat the mistakes that we made. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this.
Honorable Felix Ofosu Kwakye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the debate on the message delivered by the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, in dismay at how our colleagues on the minority bench have attempted to create the impression that the President veered off the requirements of the 1992 Constitution in the delivery of his address to this House. Mr. Speaker, Article 67 of the Constitution is quite clear that the President is to deliver a message on the state of the nation before this House. So if any president came here and focused his entire attention on telling us what the state of the nation is, without going into what plans he has to address whatever problems he has encountered, Mr. Speaker, he will be well within his rights to do so. But right at the outset, President Mahama made it clear that he was not here merely to give an account on the state of the nation, but he was here to tell us exactly what he was going to do to get us out of the abysmal depths into which the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia government sank this nation. And Mr. Speaker, he inspired hope in the generality of the people of Ghana. I have also listened with considerable shock as our colleagues on the other side have insisted that the economy that they bequeathed to President Mahama and his government was anything to write home about. Mr. Speaker, during our days in secondary school, we read the books of the Venerable Professor Na Afale Sakifio, who wrote in one of his books that the lizard says it is not as indignant